Hi, friends. I'm Amy Julia Becker, and this is Love is Stronger Than Fear, a podcast about pursuing hope and healing in the midst of social division. In this season, we're talking about my book, White Picket Fences, and today's episode takes a look at the themes of Chapter 10, Beloved, with my guests Annemarie Carrigan and Kurt Neal. I can't wait for you to meet both of these really special people and hear about the film Normie that they have created. Well, today's episode of Love is Stronger Than Fear is really special to me. It is the first time I've talked to two guests at the same time, and I will introduce them both in just a minute. And it's also the first time that I've been here to talk about White Picket Fences in relation to a film. This is the exciting news. Today we are talking about Chapter 10, Beloved, and I have with me two of the creators of Normie, which is a documentary film about a young woman who is wrestling with her identity and wrestling with that especially as it relates to having Down syndrome. So it is my distinct honor to have Annemarie Carrigan, who is the central character in this film, along with Kurt Neal, the film's director. I'm so excited to see you both. I'm here on Zoom with you, even though our listeners can only hear your voices. And I'm excited to see you, and I'm excited to talk with you. So thank you for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us, AJ.
Annemarie, I want to start with you, and I want you to just introduce yourself. Can you tell us about a typical day in your life, just so that listeners can get a sense of who you are and what your everyday life is like?
Okay, thank you, Amy Julia. My name is Annemarie. Yes, I am the main point of Normie in the film. But my typical day would typically look like I wake up, I go to work, I work as a receptionist at a literary agency called Dupree Miller, and I live in Dallas, Texas, and I'm 23. I'm a coffee lover, a book lover, and a Gilmore Girls fanatic, and that is pretty much me in a nutshell.
I love all of those things about you. I didn't know that you were working at a literary agency as a receptionist these days. I remember from the film you were working at an ice cream store. Is that right?
Yes.
So
yes.
This is a new job. How are you finding it?
I've been working there for 2 years now.
Oh, okay.
And the ice cream shop was called Howdy Homemade.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of it from all the news stations that interviews Coleman, the vice president, there a lot? I worked there for a year and a summer.
Okay.
There, and then I quit there because I had another job opportunity at the book publishing company for 2 years now.
That's wonderful. So I want to talk about this film, and I'm curious if you would be willing to just describe, tell us about Normie. What is this film about? What is your role in it? How would you explain it to someone?
So Normie is about the illusion of normal and the beauty of love through the lens of Down syndrome. Yes, I am the main character in the film. It's an hour and a half documentary film that explores normal.
That's awesome. How did you get involved? How did this come to you?
Well, a family friend of mine, Kurt Neal, he's the director of Normie, and we connected from a year I spent in college in Missouri as an intern with him in his film production thing, and from there we kindled our relationship together, and we came up together the idea of doing a documentary film that explores what normal is.
Wow, that's so cool. I didn't even know that. And I should say, I haven't actually said this yet on this podcast. Some listeners will know this, but some won't, that our family is also in the film. We play a very small part compared to you, but you and Kurt and also Julie Neal were able to travel up to our town in Washington, Connecticut a couple of years ago in December. And one of the things that was so fun about that, Annemarie, I remember, is finding out that you loved the Gilmore Girls, and that the Gilmore Girls is actually based on our town and area in Connecticut. So we thought that was really fun that you were here. And I remember also, as people who were coming up here from Texas, that it did snow. And not that, I don't know, had you ever seen snow before?
Yes, I have seen snow before.
But it was still an unusual experience, right? To be in this like snowy Connecticut town. So for many reasons, we loved participating in the film, and we loved getting to know you and having you all up here. But it was the Gilmore Girls and the snow made me very happy. All right. Well, so we'll get back to you in a second, but I do want to bring Kurt into the conversation. And Kurt, just ask you for a minute, like from your perspective, what prompted you to make this film? What is this film about? Just tell us a little bit more.
So actually, Annemarie is a longtime family friend. We love their family, wonderful, wonderful people. And so we were friends way back, but as Annemarie said, we reconnected when Annemarie was in college, and the idea of her internship fostered this rekindled relationship. And the idea, I think, honestly, evolved around this deep thing in me, not feeling normal myself, if you can say that. I've always felt a bit like an outcast, one way or another. I had dyslexia, struggled with different issues. And Annemarie, as we were working together, was so uniquely honest about things that this idea of exploring together as honestly as we could what normal really is, along with this deep desire to be loved that I have, and I know Annemarie shares that. And that's how it really began, and it morphed from there.
That's really cool. I'm going to pause for just a minute here too, because I want listeners to know that they are able for a limited time to actually watch Normie. For the most part, Normie's been out for a couple of years, but it's been available for screening in groups. And for the next 10 days, October 20th through October 31st, in honor of Down Syndrome Awareness Month, Normie is going to be available for streaming. And if you are a listener and you want to be able to stream Normie in your own living room, just subscribe to my monthly updates. So you're going to go to amyjuliabecker.com, hit subscribe, and we will send you an email with a link for how you can watch Normie through Vimeo on demand. And I will include all this information in the show notes. I'll remind you again at the end, but I wanted to let you know at the front end of this conversation that you get to watch this film, which honestly is really beautiful. I was saying to Annemarie and Kurt before we started recording this call that obviously I was in the film and I have seen it a couple of times, but it's been a while since I've watched it. And yet so many scenes are so vivid in my memory, and really, they're really beautiful, and they're simple, but they're profound, and they weave together a really compelling story, Annemarie, about your life, but also they really bring, I think, any viewer into exactly those questions. What is normal? Why do I think I need to be normal? Is anyone normal? And what is the beauty of love? And how does that work into all of this? So anyway, thank you both for that and for your beautiful work. I'm now curious just to ask you all, what would you hope that a viewer of Normie would learn or think about in result of watching it, as a result of watching it?
Annemarie, we've talked a lot about that. I think it'd be great if you answered it first.
Okay, I hope viewers will see Normie as that we are weak and brokenness, and that we are beloved by God. And I hope the viewers will see that no one is normal, and just let your guard down.
Let your guard down. Do you feel like I'm interested in, Annemarie, you using those words, like let your guard down, because one of the things Kurt just said about you is that you're someone who's really honest. And I think there's a relationship there, like that you may be, I guess here's my question. Do you feel like you walk around with your guard up, or down, or is it like it's down when it's with people I trust, but up with other people?
Yes, it's the way that you explain it, Amy. So when I'm around other people, I let my guard up sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm around people that I know and know me pretty much really well, I let my guard down.
And so what does that mean? Like when you let your guard down, what are you willing to do or say or give? How is it different for you to let your guard down?
So pretend like myself is like a wall. Like I built myself up into a big, thick wall.
Mm.
And I don't let my emotions show
Mm-hmm.
to other people. But when I'm with family and my close friends of mine, I let that layer of that thick wall down so I can let my emotions out a little bit more.
Yeah. And we get a view of that in the film. Like you showed us your emotions, and I think it's a real invitation for other people to do the same thing, to find trusted people and let our guard down. And then what happens, or what at least I saw in Normie, is that then there's like a building of connection that can come, right? Like when we're vulnerable and let our guard down, on the one hand, we risk getting hurt. But on the other hand, we open ourselves up for love and connection. And so it's often with people we trust, that's a risk worth taking, it seems to me. Kurt, how about you? What's your hope for viewers in watching Normie?
I want people to flip the lens, so to speak, and look at themselves and not simply observe Annemarie being honest, but people would be drawn into evaluating themselves like I've been drawn into evaluating myself in the process, certainly of making the film and with the friends that have been involved in the film. And fundamentally, I had this deep longing, AJ, about wanting to believe that I'm truly loved simply because I'm a child of God, the classic Imago Dei, if you will. And our world is such a mess in so many fronts, and we're screaming out your identity is relative to your performance. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a tragic lie, candidly. So I want people to be looking in the flipped lens of the camera, if you will, and evaluate, hey, wait a minute, what makes me valuable? And is it possible I can share in the experience of loving others and, in short, find value in I'm created and loved by God, and I can also love others.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you both this week was I mentioned that chapter in White Picket Fences called Beloved, because for me, having a child with Down syndrome, you all both know Penny, it really pushed me to ask that question. What does it mean for us to be human? What does it mean for us to be connected in our humanity? And Annemarie, you mentioned brokenness, and I think that's certainly a way we connect as humans to one another. But there's also this belovedness that the more and more I thought about it, and that idea of being created in the image of God, the more and more I thought about the passage where it says God is love. So what if it means for us to be created in the image of God is that we are created in love for love? Like that's what it means to be human, is that we can give and receive love. And I think about Annemarie, you just saying like when you let your guard down, and for any of us, we build those walls up. And it's a wall against hurt, but it's also it can be a wall against love. And if we let those down, that's when that humanity and that love can come out. I want to come back to that in a minute, but Annemarie, I wanted to ask you first about the title of the film, because I think it comes from you. There's at least a line in the film where you are talking about people and calling them normies. So I'm wondering if you can just explain what you mean when you call someone a normie, and or at least what you meant in the film. I don't know if you would still say that.
So what I mean to say normie was, so people outside of me, like outside of me in the society, I call those normies, normie people, because they are the normal people in the society. And with me, that has Down syndrome, I'm not normal. And that's what I meant to say. Normie to me is the people around me are normies.
And did you feel like that was always true for you, or did you come to a place in your life where you all of a sudden thought, wait a second, I feel different than the people around me?
Well, late in life, I felt that way. That wait a minute, people around me are normal, and I'm not normal. But before then, I felt really, really odd in a way, knowing that I wasn't normal, and I didn't experience what normal was.
And
So,
was that something where you wished you could be normal?
yes, I wanted to be normal. I wanted to be anybody besides not have Down syndrome.
Because there's
Because
go ahead.
because I have other interests. I have other stuff that I really wanted to do. I wanted to go to a four-year college program, and I want to do all this other stuff that my disability won't allow me to do.
And in terms of making the film, did that change at all your feelings about what is normal, or whether you were normal or not? Like, did that change at all from making this film?
It did. Surprisingly, it did. Being around Kurt himself, he brought out another side of me that I never saw before. I saw the side of me that I am loved, I am not normal, and I am just who I am. And I'm proud of that right now.
Yeah, I remember, I think you and I even talked about this when you were at our house, that you talk in the film about feeling lonely and about some of those questions and dreams that weren't getting fulfilled. And I don't want to say that has nothing to do with your disability, because I don't think that's true. But I also wanted to say, oh my gosh, like, yeah, because I think when you came up here, you were 21. It's like there are so many 21-year-olds who are feeling lonely and who are watching Netflix and wish they were out on the town, and who are just asking all those questions. I mean, I'm 43 and I'm still asking a lot of those questions. And I think I'm hearing from Kurt that he's also asking those questions. So it's almost like, because you have Down syndrome, there's like a magnifying glass on your experience, but it's also related to that experience of being human and of saying, why don't I fit perfectly? Because that's what I want to do desperately, right? In the world. And yet then that struggle to say, what would it mean for me to believe that I'm a beloved as I am? So Annemarie, how do you think about having Down syndrome? Is that something that you see as entirely negative? Is it something you see as positive? Is it something you see as just like a fact about you?
To be honest, I know I have Down syndrome. Yes, I am a little bit judgmental to people are lower level than I am. I am very judgmental about that because I don't want to be labeled as that Down syndrome kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't want to be labeled. I just want to be who I am. I just want to do other stuff. And I just feel like I feel like I'm judged to people in the society.
So tell me, I guess, can you think of an experience, and you might not have this, and that's fine, but can you think of an experience when you felt like you were different than other people because of having Down syndrome?
Well, that's a good question, Julia. Yes, there was an experience. It's a very, very detailed story that I'm gonna say. So in high school, a long time ago, I was in choir, singing and stuff, and there was a teacher that is a choir director there, and he told a bunch of people that I know, like me and my two other friends, that have a disability to sing quiet anyway.
Yeah.
So because we don't really have a singing voice, we like To be honest, we sounded like a dying seal coming out of the water.
Well, and is that how you thought of it at the time? That you thought of yourself
Yes,
as sounding like a dying seal? Okay.
yes. And that's why the teacher said to stay quiet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Yeah. Did you feel like he was willing to work with you as a student?
No,
Because
no.
I mean, I think there's a lot of like, did he believe in you and want to see you grow in your abilities and believe in your potential, or was he just like be in the corner and be quiet?
Yeah, being in a corner and be quiet. He doesn't really believe in my ability to sing.
Mm-hmm. And was that an experience for you that happened like often as you were growing up?
Not very often. That was one of the occasional times that I was being bullied
Mm,
in high school.
okay. So I'm thinking about one of my favorite scenes in the film, and you're talking to a pastor, and he is talking about how he doesn't think anyone is normal and that we're all broken. And at this point in the film, you use your hands, you put them on your head and kind of extend them out to the sides and make a sound like to show that your brain is like exploding with ideas. Do you remember the scene I'm talking about?
I
Okay.
do.
So I think you guys are talking in that scene about that sense of what does it mean for all of us to have things in common, and what if that is deeper than you having Down syndrome and me not, right? And that yes, we're both broken, but we're also both beloved. And you've mentioned even in this interview believing that we're loved by God as we are. And so I'm curious to just hear what you think about, like, do you think of yourself as someone who is beloved, and does that loved by God, and how does that affect how you live?
Well, the way that I was touching my head and then coming at at that, that is what I call them a mind explosion.
Yes.
So it's like your mind is exploding into a million pieces. And that to me is it's called a mind explosion because it's a rush of ideas coming into your brain and then just leaving it all out, like
Mm-hmm.
access. So I'm loved by God, and that's a fact. And if that does change the way how I see myself, and and I don't know how to explain why I feel I'm loved by God because it's unfathomable to think that God loves me and that He believes and has faith in me, kind of thing. So it's hard to explain because it's His word against mine, kind
Yeah.
of feeling. Yeah.
Right. So in other words, I mean, this is true for me. I believe that God loves me, and I don't believe that every day. Like, I want that to be true, and yet I also don't believe it all the time. And I think I'm thinking back to what Kurt was saying about how we live in a society where the way we know we are lovable is by how we perform, what we achieve, what we can do. And yet I think what I know I've experienced in my life is, even when I've done all these things, I still have that sense of insecurity. And the place where that security comes from is actually the love of God, not from the achievements in the world. I'm curious, Kurt, to know whether your experience of making this film changed your own understanding of that idea of belovedness.
I think it drew me deeper into the question. I resonate with the idea, really the thought you shared, AJ, around I believe, but every day I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And the process for me in filmmaking, as it was with Annemarie, is every bit as important as the finished product of the film. And the process of us all together, many friends collaborating, drew me all the more into my imperfections. My anxieties were exposed more than ever. And at the same time, this overwhelming need I have to truly be loved from me simply being the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it changed me I'm almost 65 years old now.
Mm.
And I thought I'd be better, smarter, have more answers. And quite the opposite is true on so many fronts. The one thing that I can say in this film process with Annemarie and others took me further down the road of how I'm longing to believe really, really, truly that I'm loved simply because God created me.
Mm-hmm.
But I must tell you that the process of even making this film led to more brokenness or more expose of imperfection.
Mm.
And I think the connection that we've had, even with you guys up in Connecticut and with Josh White, and big shout out to David Zoll and Mockingbird for connecting us with you and Josh White.
Oh, so
We've
cool.
all become friends. It's amazing how this thing has happened. But I would say it's the process of the awareness of our brokenness or limitedness. We've talked a lot about that as well in the difference. But how that draws us all into, oh my God, could it really be true that you love us? You love us because we're yours. And I would say that's the big thing for me in making this film, AJ, is all the more being drawn into the awareness of, could it possibly be true that I'm far more loved than I ever dreamed possible, and that I can really love others through my limitedness and brokenness.
Yeah. So thank you for that, both of you. Kurt, I'd love to hear just the process you went through. You just kind of made reference to it. So I want to pick up on this in terms of who you talked to and who is in this film, because I've mentioned there's a pastor and us, and you also interview a medical doctor, as well as what I would typically call a magician. I think he calls himself an illusionist. Is that right? Is that what he calls himself? Can you explain kind of a little bit about who these different characters are, but also how you decided who was going to be included in telling this story?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to give you some great, plan that I came up with, but that would be the biggest lie in the world. All the films that we make are around opportunity that comes up in front of us. And then we start, I call it throwing spaghetti on the wall, and we try to see what sticks.
Yeah.
And as I already mentioned, David Zoll and his connection with you and Josh, the illusionist, really gifted guy, came through a really good friend who's also in the film, Katie Anderson. And Katie is one of those unique people that's super creative and knows people. And so she said, hey, I know this guy. I think we could have him in the film. We told him, and he jumped on board like you did. And I would say that the beauty of vulnerability that Annemarie brings to the table, and that I'm trying to be more like Annemarie in that regard, opens opportunity to connect with other people. And when people would hear what we're doing, they're going, well, man, I'm in. I struggle with feeling normal. So that's how it all happens. It's this process of trying to be authentic and vulnerable. And then the mess that's created around that, and the need to come back and apologize and make amends and all that breeds a beautiful, beautiful mess, I think.
Beautiful mess.
I was going to use another word that you're well familiar with that I'm sure you don't want on your show.
Okay, well, we'll keep it at that. But it's actually, Annemarie, one other thing that I was thinking about, which I guess this scene is in the trailer, so it's also in the film, that you all have went to see the total solar eclipse that happened a few years ago, and you went together, and it's such a beautiful scene. Annemarie, I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about that experience of, how you guys, what's the story? How did you end up there together, and what was the experience like for you?
Well, it was just a day trip up to Nashville, Tennessee with Kurt and his family up there to film the solar eclipse.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure you know that Nashville is kind of the direct hit for the solar eclipse, and so we just went up there and to film that. And some of the clips that Kurt got to film the solar eclipse, he kind of bought it from NASA.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
But so what do you remember being there, like yourself?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And what was it like for you? So I've literally put it on my calendar the next time there's a solar eclipse that's near enough for me to drive to it. I think it's in 2024, because I just heard so much after that eclipse of like how incredible it was. So I'd love to hear just what was that experience like?
So for me, it was once of a lifetime experience for me to see the total solar eclipse,
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen parts of it in Dallas, but it's not really a direct hit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's seeing the total eclipse. The whole thing is really, really great experience for me to see, and being there with people that I know and I love. It's there's no words to describe how I experienced and seen it.
I think what I love so much about that scene is that you are saying, like, don't you quit on me, right? Like you're talking to the sun and you're
Yes.
saying, I do not want the light to go out. Like I don't want this darkness to come. But then when the sun gets fully covered by the moon, it's really beautiful, right? So like this thing that you don't want is also and then you just go, oh wow. It's like this sense of the thing I was resisting is actually what I really wanted. And I felt like that moment encapsulates the film so much in terms of all of us saying essentially like, I don't want to be me. I don't, in your case, like, I don't want to be someone with Down syndrome, or in Kurt's case, like, I don't want to feel like the oddball, or in my case, I don't want to be a perfectionist who never can get it right. Like, and yet there's that sense of like, when we surrender to what's happening, we can sometimes see the beauty, right? Like that there was just this moment of like, resist, 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 and then beauty. And I loved the way, Kurt, I loved the way you captured that. Annemarie, again, you were so out there and so honest with what you were experiencing while you watched that it brought everybody else into that moment. And it was bigger than just the eclipse. It's like, yeah, that's my life saying, don't quit on me, please, 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 no. And then the thing happens that I don't want. And not always, but sometimes that's exactly what I needed. So anyway, that's just, again, one of my favorite scenes. And I felt like since it's part of it's in the trailer, I'm not giving too much away to share it here. So I want to conclude this conversation just by asking a little bit more about growing up with Down syndrome in America, because October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, and you've spoken a little bit about what it's been like to grow up with Down syndrome, but you also are in this position where you're a little bit older, almost 10 years older than our daughter Penny, but you're 20 years younger than me. So you're in this kind of new generation of people with Down syndrome who are going to school. I mean, you're a great testimony to this, going to college, going to get jobs and be in the workplace. I know that there are all sorts of hopes and dreams that you have for your life. So I'm just wondering, are there things that you would like for people to know about what it is like to have Down syndrome?
That's a really good question, Amy. Julia. I'm not gonna. I also want to bring up the fact that I'm writing a book about that. Also,
I didn't know that.
yes, I am, and it's kind of for young adult. Wanting to have the inside scoop on reassurance with giving birth to people with Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much talks about reassurance young adults knowing that that side with Down syndrome might have delayed thoughts and delayed stuff. And I want people to know that they're not alone in life, and I am not. I am more such who I am, such because of my disability with my Down syndrome. And yes, I am 10 years older than Penny and 20 years younger than you, and in that middle life where I'm struggling with work and like getting jobs and getting out there and being the face of new situation of Down syndrome and to help that situation coming to the fact that it's okay to have Down syndrome and just to be who you are, kind of thing. So currently, it's in the process of being pitched out to publishers, getting out there.
So have you actually written like a
Yes,
proposal or written the whole thing?
the whole thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
And is it about your own experience of like birth until now?
Yeah, so it's part of it is birth to now, but also it's a part about I want to reassure young parents expecting a new baby with Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to reassure them that it's okay if you figured out you have a baby with Down syndrome.
And so are you giving them advice, or are you describing your experience so they know, look at this wonderful human being?
So it's a twist with that. So it's both.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to reading it whenever it comes out, and I hope that the publishing experience goes well.
Me too.
Awesome. I often think about how I feel like there was a generation of people, actually a little bit older than me, who did the work to make sure that people with Down syndrome were able to go to school. And there was a lot of work done. And I feel like we're now at this new threshold of people like you saying, okay, and when school is over, jobs, we can do that, and just continuing to really break down barriers within our society. So I'm really grateful for that work, and even just for your willingness in the film and obviously in your writing and speaking to be honest about what's hard, but also about what's possible for people with Down syndrome. And I think for our whole society, what my hope and dream is, my prayer is that we would really be able to see not just the disability aspect of people with Down syndrome, or like the challenges and what can be hard, but also just the real gifts. And I think your experience testifies to that, just to the gift that it is to know you and to have you in the world. I'm certainly glad for that. So thank you very much for the work that you've done, both of you, for creating this film. It's been a real delight for our family to participate in it and get to know you all. But even I can't really say I'm an objective observer, because obviously I was in the film, but I do think that it's a really beautiful piece of art that's also very accessible. I know lots of people who've seen it, and many of whom do not have like a specific connection to Down syndrome, and yet who felt like they really could connect, which goes back to the fact that you all weren't talking about having Down syndrome so much as you were talking about being human and wrestling with what it means to be these vulnerable, limited, broken, and beloved human beings who are struggling every day to both protect ourselves and to connect with each other. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for being here and talking with us today. I am certain that listeners are going to love hearing from you and are going to want to go and watch Normie.
Well, thanks again, AJ. It's been a real privilege to be with you and Annemarie in this moment.
Absolutely. All right. Well, blessings to both of you. Thanks. Thanks so much for listening to Love is Stronger Than Fear. I want to remind you again that if you want a chance to watch Normie, and believe me, you do want this chance, you can do so. And you can do so only for a limited time from today, October 20th, through October 31st. You will need to subscribe to my monthly updates at amyjuliabecker.com. And then we will send you an email with a link so that you can stream the film in your own living room. We will be sure to note other references in the show notes and give you just links to that, what I just said. I'd love for you, as always, not just to share the episode, but share this opportunity to see the film Normie, because it's a great one. I also want to thank our co-host Breaking Ground. thank Jake Hansen for editing and Amber Beery for doing all the social media work that goes alongside this show. And next week, little preview, I will be talking about Chapter 11 of White Picket Fences, and this chapter is called Possibilities. I'm going to be talking with Nicole Fulgham, founder and executive director of the Expectations Project. So for anyone who's interested in how we can support the most vulnerable kids within our public school system and how we can create opportunities for everyone to learn and grow, this conversation is for you. I hope you'll join us. And as always, as you go into your day, I hope you will carry with you the peace that comes from believing that love is stronger than fear.